Before reaching Zhao, she was in the sky playing a game resembling chess, or so I believe. A man with a bird's head says to her, "Great dragon, why do you always prefer to appear in human form?" The great dragon replies, "Who said I have to abide by these trivial rules of the heavenly palace and show my true form? Otherwise, I'll end up like you, a human body with a bird's head." The man with the bird's body looks at her and says, "No, you're bleeding from your head." The great dragon says, "Are you kidding me? The last time I bled was 100 years ago. My invincible, legendary body." She checks her head and finds blood on her hands. She casts a spell to stop the bleeding, excuses herself from her brother, the crane, and leaves to search for Zhao. As she leaves, she thinks to herself, "I examined it with my spiritual energy. This is a fatal curse, and even I can't break it. The curse is linked to someone in the human world. I must find that scoundrel." The story shifts to the president. He says, he endured a fatal blow from someone at the true foundation level and didn't even budge an inch. Moreover, he activated a protective barrier at the moment of the attack to the extent that the surrounding building wasn't even scratched. This person's power is far beyond mine. The heavenly dragon appears and says, "Is it because I haven't fought weak practitioners for a long time that I've forgotten how weak you are? Or are you weaker than practitioners? When I began my path," the president screams and tells the young man who hit her, "Get away from her immediately." The heavenly dragon looks at the president, who is so scared he falls to the ground. He says, "Why? How did that person explode without us even seeing any movement? She's coming towards me now. What do I do? What do I do? My legs won't hold me up. I'm finished." She goes to Zhao and says, "Honestly, seeing you rise from the dead after I devoured you surprised me a little." Zhao says, "I knew it was you, but your new appearance is deceiving me, you stinky dragon." The heavenly dragon says to him, "The effect of that seal of yours is to stick to me and absorb my blood, isn't it? Remove it from me immediately, or you'll face the consequences." He says to the dragon with a smile, "Sorry, I really don't know how to remove it." She gets angry and strikes him to the ground, yelling, "Remove it! Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" The president looks at her and says, "What a terrifying woman." When she gets angry, she even hits her allies. After hitting him to the ground, she spits out some blood from her mouth. She says, "Damn it, the more I hit him, the worse my injuries get. There's no point in continuing like this. It will only lead to an endless, boring loop. It's better to go back. I'm sure I'll find a way to break this seal." She thinks to herself, "He's alive again. The effect of this seal is really disgusting." Zhao says, "Last time, you devoured me so suddenly. Isn't it my right to ask for compensation?" The dragon says, "You're the first one who dared to say such a thing to me. What do you want?" He tells her, "I want to become an immortal." She gets angry at him and says, "Do you think you're at a wish party? And what if I refuse?" Zhao says, "If you don't grant my wish, I'll throw myself into a sulfuric acid bath and die repeatedly, and you'll keep bleeding like crazy." The heavenly dragon says, "Are you blackmailing me? I can freeze and imprison you immediately, then look for a way to break the seal. I have all the time in the world." Zhao says, "Do you think I don't have countermeasures for these situations? Do you want to try?" She gets annoyed with him and gives him a book. She says, "This is it. Becoming an immortal all at once is impossible. Here's a basic technique for you to train slowly. It's most suitable for people with no talent, like you. Although it won't guarantee you immortality, it will at least guarantee you entry into a good university and a decent life without worries." The name of the book the heavenly dragon gave to Zhao is The Art of Pre-Borrowing Techniques. He looks at the book and says, "This book looks amazing just by looking at it, right? You can't defeat enemies just by taking hits. Raising your strength is the most realistic solution." The heavenly dragon looks at Zhao and thinks to herself, "This fool. Nothing is given for free. Before I get rid of you permanently, will drain all your worth." She looks at the president and says, "I won't waste my time on an ant. Don't obstruct my path. but you must forget everything that happened today. The heavenly dragon erases the president's memory. On the second day of the incident, while they are at the stadium waiting for the power test, Jang Kabai has a headache and doesn't remember what happened yesterday. While waiting, Zhao holds his head and says, "I don't remember anything that happened yesterday. My mind is confused. What were we going to do today?" Body strengthening instructor Yin Jian tells the students, "Today is the first monthly test of the new semester. I hope everyone does their best. Students with low rankings may be considered for expulsion by the school." He orders them to begin. He says, "First item, body strengthening level test. The test begins now. For your future, go." Zhao says, "The first month's test is already in the first week. They haven't taught anything in class these days." One student says, "This is how the final year is. Everything worth learning was taught in the first 2 years. Aren't you taking extra tutoring classes? The focus is on extracurricular activities. The final year is about exams, ranking, and strengthening yourself." The student says, "No, Zhao, impossible. You didn't sign up for tutoring classes? Then you'll be in trouble. This exam." The student looks at another student and says, "Hey, fatty, your consistent third-year ranking is about to collapse." The fatty student asks, "Why?" He replies, "Because of that idiotic transfer student next to me. He didn't even sign up for tutoring classes." He thinks to himself, "But seriously? I've thought a lot trying to understand. How did that class tyrant, Zhang Kabai, let him go?" Zhang looks at Zhao and thinks, "I remember I held a grudge against that kid. But why did I leave him alone? The two followers who were always by my side, one was beaten to death, and the other bled to death. I feel like something terrible happened." The instructor says, "First test, penetration. A magic barrier has been thrown onto the field. Test your destructive power on the next penetration. Zhang Kabai, show us how it's done." The student goes to make his throw. The instructor thinks to himself, "He's my best student. Come on, show them your skills." Student Zhang throws the spear towards the walls or barrier with all his might. He penetrates 5 layers of 1 meter thick reinforced concrete walls. The instructor thinks to himself, "Just as I expected from our school's body strengthening prodigy, this level almost rivals mine." Zhang Kabai thinks to himself, "You haven't even realized what worries me. I'm already the strongest." Zhao asks the green-haired student, "Is this result that good?" The student replies, "It's well known in our class that the only person with a chance of a university recommendation for refinement due to body strengthening is him. This test measures the destructive power you possess using body strengthening or internal energy formation. In the end, the power is determined by the number of layers penetrated. Most students in the first month of their final year can penetrate 2 or 3 layers at most, but with 5 layers, he's in first place by a large margin. After that, the fatty student, Woofy, goes to make his throw, but he can only penetrate 1 concrete wall. The instructor looks at student Zhao and says, "Next, the transfer student." The instructor thinks to himself, "The old school principal must have lost his mind. How could he accept such trash and drag our class down? I'll teach him a lesson today." The green-haired student says, "No, Zhao, you're doomed. If you can't penetrate at least 1 layer, you'll most likely be advised to leave. This is probably our last conversation. Good luck." Zhao summons his power into his hand. Using a prepayment technique, Misty Dark, Thunder Palm, the instructor looks at it and says sarcastically, "How are you advancing empty-handed? Do you intend to strike with your fist? Strange, we have a genius in our class who can penetrate from nothing, but he extracts his technique with his hand to resemble a round ball, and strikes it towards the reinforced concrete walls with all his might. With his power, he penetrates all the concrete walls." The instructor is astonished and exclaims, "He actually penetrated all the reinforced walls." Zhao approaches the instructor. The instructor thinks to himself, "This kid recorded the highest rate in the history of students at the same level. And as for that Thunder Palm technique, This is a method we've never seen before. The destructive power this thunder carries must mean his body strengthening level is high. To reach this level in body strengthening and ki together, this means a heavenly genius. The girls look at him. One girl says, "He was so ordinary at first, and now he looks so handsome. What happened?" Another replies, "A talent that rivals previous geniuses. He never showed any signs before, but now it's clear he must be blood related to a major sect." The green-haired student appears, looking nervous. He says, "Damn, us laughed too loudly. I'm dead now." After the training ends and they return to class, the green-haired student and Zhao meet. Zhao says, "What's wrong with you? You look like you've aged 50 years in moments." He replies, "Earlier, I was blind in broad daylight. In the future, if you want anything, just say so." Zhao says, "All right, I'm a bit rushed now." Later, he leaves. The green-haired student looks from the school rooftop and says, "He's rushing back to training. Indeed, the strong put in more effort than I do." Zhao thinks to himself as he leaves, "Damn, I knew that malicious dragon harbored bad intentions. It gave me this catastrophic book as a ticking time bomb." Assistant notification appears. "Please compensate for the misty dark thunder palm training. If not completed on time, penalties will apply. 1. Deduction from your special falcon. 2. Doubled bloodline restrictions.